All right, we are back. The post gala era. I am officially dubbing this season 2, and the first guest of season 2 right now across from me, Ridgewood's finest, Matt Bishop. Welcome, man.
Thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored to be guest one of season 2. This is a surprise to me. I'm very happy with that. Ridgewood's finest stretch. We do have to compete with Senior Caslin, who did win the award this year. So that is a tough stretch there.
Yeah, I'm not trying to dig myself in any holes here. I want to be nice to everyone. You're the best at you're the head coach, though. I could say you're the best head coach.
Okay.
He's the best assistant.
There you go. Perfect.
Though I know the system well enough to know that you guys just play different roles, right?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good cop, bad cop.
Definitely the brains, the brain stem of the operation. That definitely keeps everything functioning and working on time, especially because it's like actually his job. That's like what he's doing. But on top of the fact that he's a lot more organized, and just all the stuff he does is just all the stuff that I don't prefer to do. So it really complements each other well.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I mean, I think it's almost ideal to have somebody in school and somebody out of school, because out of school personalities, the kids see you in a different light as well, where it's like they don't have you in the classroom and might not have that same, they carry that rapport with you from the classroom onto the field, and that may not be the best thing sometimes. But without getting too deep into the coaching woods from the start, the reason I thought of the season 2 thing about 5 minutes ago, because I was thinking you are the first guest who I didn't send a Christmas card to. So I was like, this is a future Christmas card recipient. But
I did see that one. And you're like, I just don't have anybody's, and I was like, okay, I'll get that. I'll get behind that one. You don't have the address or anything like that. Like that makes sense. That makes sense.
I think Max also qualifies. I didn't send Max a Christmas card for a similar reason, I guess. Maybe I have his address somewhere because I've been to his place, but he's now in the address book. But that was the gala podcast. This is a profile podcast. And I'm excited for it because, I mean, we have had some nice conversations as of late, but for the most part, there's a lot to uncover that I have no idea. So, but it makes it a lot easier to turn over rocks when you've got a beverage in hand. So, go ahead.
Well, first, like as I previously mentioned, I have my Chicago home of the L train, Spanish for the train, which I figured would be very appropriate. But I have, in honor of Dirk Heiser, I have Wxitt Steffener Hefeweizen. Tis the oldest brewery in the world.
That's like the origins of the Reinheitsgebot, the purity law of German beer.
Yeah, Bavarian from 1040.
Oh, dang!
How long they have been brewing?
That predates the Reinheitsgebot. Yeah. Do you know about the purity law?
I do not.
It's a real law in Germany where you have to have hops, barley, and malt as your main ingredients. Hops, barley, malt. Does that make sense? Yeah. I like the can too. It's a nice matted finish.
Yeah, very, very simple, very easy. See how it?
Oh, that's beautiful.
That was a good one.
And that's what are they, 16 ounce? It's interesting in the European tall cans.
Yeah, 16 ounce, 5.4.
So that's slightly smaller than the American tall cans, is that right?
No, I think it's 16.9, actually. It might be. I don't know.
Because I got a tall can.
1 pint 0.9.
Oh, okay, so that's a bit more, right?
16.9.
Okay,
which is I think that's usually what you get in like the PBR. I think PBR is like a 16.9 as well.
Maybe the PBR, what I'm handling right now is a 1 pint, so exact, which I think it's going to come to the tippy top of my.
If you have a like American brew or an IPA brew from like local, they're usually pints on the nose. So what do you have today? What baby? Is that what it is?
You know what? I don't. The brewery is Bike Lane Uprising, a very very activist name there, but it's called I Love Bicyclists. I just saw it at my local beer shop. I love to peruse, and they have. Oh, you know what? It's from maybe it's a collaboration with Haymarket because it has a Haymarket logo in the back. But it says there's a couple of things on here. It says help make cycling safer by reporting bike lane obstructions. Yeah, so it's all about creating a friendly world for bicyclists. And I like it because it's an American IPA. I like straight IPAs, and it's 6.6 alcohol, which I like 6 to 7 for an IPA for myself. But
yeah,
let's hear it. I don't think it wasn't of the quality of the Weihenstephaner, but
yeah. Yeah, not personally a big IPA guy.
If I do an IPA, I need it to be crisp, and this looks extremely crisp, man. I haven't seen an IPA that's that translucent in a while, so I'm excited for this.
Nice little.
Oh, how rude of me.
Cheers, sir.
Cheers. Oh.
Could definitely see why it's been made for so long.
Oh man, it's a nice Sunday night beer.
That's one my father-in-law turned me on to. He was like, "Hey, you want to try this?" I was like, "No, all right." Never turned on bison.
What do you normally drink then on a normal weekday?
It really depends. It depends on what we're doing, what we're going with. My like brewery beer that I'll usually look for if we try a new brewery or a new place, new here, new there, is I'm a big fan of sours.
Yeah.
Love a good sour. One of the best I've ever had. I actually can't find anymore. For the first time ever, actually, when I went to the liquor store that I got this at, I saw that the brewery was actually in the store, which is Hailstorm. They're down in Joliet. And they made one for a while, like forklift certified or something like that. And it was like a raspberry lactose ferment sour. And it was.
Is that hazy, a lactose ferment?
No, they're usually not. They usually almost come off. So one of the most recent ones I had that was really, really good. It wasn't a sour, but it had a lactose ferment in it. Was Old Irving Brewery.
Oh yeah.
They had one recently called Cinnamon Prost.
Right. Remember that one.
And it was a white stout, actually, which I've only ever seen like 2 white stouts, period.
That's like a albino rhino.
Yeah, it's quite out there. But it like it kind of gives it like like it tasted like Cinnamon Toast Crunch milk. And so like the lactose kind of gives it that like smooth kind of dairy-esque finish.
Uh-huh.
So like when you have that in a sour, it almost like you get the sourness, but you don't get the bitterness, if that makes sense, because the lactose kind of takes away that bitter like shiver at the end. So
yeah, I know I've had one of those lactose fermented. What is it called? Lactose. What's the process?
Just a lactose ferment. No, the one that I had was just it was raspberries. Raspberries was the soured fruit.
Okay.
With a lactose ferment in it. Like lactose is becoming a lot more popular, I think, because of the fact that it can cancel out bitterness. So if you have like a double IPA that's like super bitter, and they finish it with a little bit of a lactose ferment, it makes it a little bit more tolerable.
Okay. See, I always thought the bitterness was, a trait that was desirable, and by most, but
yeah, for some, and like you said, for most, like I would say most IPA drinkers enjoy the bitterness, which again is very ironic. Like the fact that I don't like IPAs, but I like sours, and I love a good old fashioned, but
yeah,
I don't like IPAs with bit. So it's like,
I could see that.
but
Um,
it's weird.
did you listen to the one I had, like a cinnamon dolce, and it sounds like kind of that white IPA that or white nitro that you're talking about.
Yeah,
Man, it was something else. It's
I was
like,
very intrigued by it.
yeah, I kind of have like nightmares about that. It's just like so heavy. I think by the time I got to my fourth one of the pack, I just couldn't do it anymore. It's too much.
We'll see how the fourth one of this pack goes. Cause
I had a really good sour last four pack I picked up was called Buddha's Idiom, and it was from Brewer's Kitchen. It was like had a little bit of plum in it, and I normally don't like sours all that much, but that one I'd highly recommend it, especially if you do like sours.
Okay, sour Buddha's something. Yeah,
Brewer's Kitchen, yeah, Buddha's Idiom, and I kind of actually chose it because it just sounded so poetic, Well, obviously alluding to idioms, but um, so enough about the beer though. What we are both teachers, so we got the holiday tomorrow. But as parents, not really a holiday.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
What year are you back in school?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You've
I've been
back
back
for a while.
since
Okay.
start of November.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. So it was very 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 nice to have that time off, and I'm sure if you ever have kid number two, you'll very much enjoy it as well.
My first paternity leave is like those were the most magic days to have the spring without school associations and all that.
Yeah,
So
that was I ended up I think for the first for Lizzie, we I had the standard 10 days, and then I called my assistant principal like on like day 7 or something like that, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to take an extra 5." And she's like, "Yeah, no problem." I was like, "Cuz Danielle had a C-section for it," and I was like, "She can't stand and hold the kid." like
yeah.
like we gotta. I was like, "We need extra time." And she's like, "Yeah, no worries." So I mean, my AP's always been very understanding with that. And then this one it worked out perfectly. I mean, she was born in July, and so I roll into the start of the year.
So you got with a couple months though then.
Yeah, you get a full, is it 12
Oh.
weeks, I think.
Oh, is this the whole Mayor Johnson
Yeah,
change, huh?
it's the
Oh
new thing.
man.
So there's a new. It's for, in their quotes, birth givers and non-birth givers, um, adopting and fostering parents.
Wow.
So all 4 of them get the 12 weeks off. So if you adopt or you foster or anything like that, you can take the 12 weeks off.
So you were one of the freshest recipients of this new
I
measure, right?
was, and they actually grandfathered people into it too, because a guy that we coached with, me and Kenny coached with Arland, who works at Taft. You might have heard of him,
Uh-huh.
in passing or whatever. He had his son in like May, and kind of just gutted it out. Like took a couple days, obviously for the birth and whatever, and gutted out the end of the year, and then went to like the first week of like the pointless meetings.
Right.
And I think the first week of school to kind of get like routine set in place for his kids, and then
Mm-hmm.
took off almost till Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, I think they grandfathered back all the way like the 12-month, because you could take it within 12 months, right?
Uh-huh.
So they kind of grandfathered back, and those who took the 10 days, they gave them the extra like 9 weeks or whatever, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I was in it was my 9th, 10th year when our son was born, and I just had CTU sick days banked for
Yeah.
eons. So fortunately I was able to get about 2 months, and The main thing is just like stressing about, who they're your replacement and everything. But that turned out well enough. I had a young, motivated person in there that was able to get along well. So
yeah, ours or mine specifically worked out okay because they pretty much just took. My schedule is all sorts of jacked up this year, but that's a whole other story for a whole other time if you wanted to hear about it. But I only had 3 PE classes, and so they just took them and they split them amongst the department.
Oh, I got you.
So they got approval to pay like 3 of the teachers that 6th period pay.
Okay, so they got compensated for the extra. Oh, okay. So no one was giving you flack
for. They were getting 6 period a day pay, and like the one guy was like, "I owe you a beer for staying out."
Yeah, really. I mean, that's nice.
Yeah.
As long as it's temporary, maybe people wouldn't want the full load all the time, but
I mean,
I wouldn't
mind it. You can be in frame, Danielle. Oh, maybe you can't. Never mind. So I'm assuming at some point a child has gotten her shirt dirty. So she's in the bra.
We live similar lives. So yeah, let's get to it. So from Kenny, he had mentioned that you are the youngest of 3, is that right? Or do you have 2 older brothers?
I have 2 twin older brothers.
Oh, 2 twin. I didn't catch that aspect of it.
Yes.
And those were players of Coach Caslin, or?
No, they are Coach Caslin's age. They are a year older. They played with him at Harper.
Yeah, what am I thinking? Of course they're not players of his.
Yeah.
They played with him.
I'm not even a player of him. Actually, I'm not too far off from being a player for him, but that's a whole nother. They were very young. Yeah, no, I have 2 twin older brothers. One is a teacher as well with me at Schurz. And the other is Chicago Police. And I actually played for my brother at Ridgewood. He was one of the coaches, one of the varsity coaches, when I was there. And then
so he must have been pretty young then as a coach, huh?
Yeah, they both were actually quite young. So I think Jeff, who's the teacher, while he was still playing at Aurora, or when he had just finished his 4th year at Aurora, came back and helped Rob St. John out at Ridgewood. I think probably for the girls, but more kind of as a goalkeeping coach because he's a goalkeeper. And then Tom came, and I think he started coaching there in 2005 or 2006, so my sophomore year.
Okay.
Is when he took over, or no, I think it was 2005, my freshman year, my first year there. So he was only 21 when he started coaching there.
Okay, so you're class of 2008.
Yeah.
And he's they're 6 years older than?
They are 5 and change, but 6 years.
Okay. Five grade levels or 6 grade levels?
6, because they're 2002.
Okay. Yeah, my older brother's 6 grade levels above. So that's like they're minding you playing with them as a kid kind of thing.
Yes and no, but that's kind of so growing up, like that's kind of what spurred my development period, because it was they didn't show any mercy, right? And it was I'm sure you know the same thing, like with if you ever went out with your older brother, it was okay, well, if you're going to be here, you're a player. You're a player to be picked.
Yeah.
Right? So it was either be better or get destroyed.
And they played high school sports.
They did. They played high school soccer. They both played at Harper. With Kenny, Jeff went on to Aurora to finish up. Tom did not move on to any 4-year college. He got his associates and went originally to go be an EMT and then switched into police.
So he's been in the force for 10 plus years, sort of thing?
Right on. Okay. I think he's at either 9 or 10. is kind of where he's at, because it was a bit of a process to get on, because it was back when Chicago wasn't just like, yeah, we'll take anybody. Like, it was actually selective still. So it took him the process from when he decided to want to be a cop to actually getting on, I think, was like maybe a year and a half to a 2-year process.
Yeah.
It's not like now where it's like, oh, you applied, oh, you passed your tests, come on, we got one starting next week, you know.
And you guys, you grew up in Norwich or in the city?
We grew up at like Belmont and Cumberland-ish.
Okay.
Belmont and Ozanam, right by like Holy Cross and Mother Guerin, if you've ever heard of them.
Not really.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore. Actually, they're apartment complexes now. But they used to be actually a pretty big school. Had a couple pro athletes come out of there in the past. Pretty big Catholic school, pretty big rivals with St. Pat's, if you've ever heard of them.
Yeah, I know St. Pat's.
They were a pretty big rival. Like, that was the Battle of Belmont, is what they'd call it.
So what neighborhood is that, or is that EP or what?
It's the Dunning area.
Oh, okay. So, okay, Dunning. Would you say Cumberland?
Yeah, just before Cumberland.
Cumberland is east of Narragansett? Or,
West of Narragansett.
okay. Is it west of Harlem?
It's Narragansett, Harlem, Cumberland.
Oh, I always thought that Harlem was the western border of the city.
No.
Oh, okay.
First Avenue or Cumberland, if you ride it up. And that's actually kind of where you get, and that's actually not technically the western border, because you have that little pizza slice that exists that kind of connects O'Hare to the rest of the city.
Okay.
There's a little pizza slice that, if you ever look at it, like right by where Norwich is. But then, so anyways, back to what we're saying is, when my brothers got to high school age, so 98, my parents said, look at private schools or look at moving, because they were not going to send my brothers to Steinmetz.
Right.
Because Steinmetz in the late 90s, early 2000s was not a desirable place for
I don't know if it still is a very desirable place, but
Caucasian children who were going to St. Paul Lutheran grade school at Camfield and Bryn Mawr to go from
culture shock,
graduation class of 20 kids to where they are. I mean, the culture shock from graduation of 20 kids to graduation of 200 kids was big enough for them.
Yeah, exactly.
So they looked at like Luther North, because both my parents went to Luther North. We looked at like Maine South and Park Ridge. They went to St. Pat's. They went and saw Notre Dame. And they went and saw Holy Cross. And just weren't big fans of really any of the religious schools. So found Ridgewood. They liked Ridgewood. My parents found a house in Norwich, and they've been at that house since 1998.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah, I got quite a number of kids, 8th grade year, who say that they're moving, for the sake of high schools. It's not as bad now that there's Taft in the mix, the freshman academy, but
it'll be interesting to see if they pass this, or better yet, if they remove the the non-neighborhood school like bidding and enrollment. It'll be interesting to see kind of what happens.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. I'd heard about that. When could that come into effect at earliest?
It could come in with us being in contract year next year.
Wow.
It could be put in the contract as they get rid of that.
And so what would be the scenario then? Everyone would go to their neighborhood school?
It goes back to local school communities, where like Old Irving Park goes to Schurz. Right? Because there's a handful of like the apartments that are literally a block from Schurz that I'll ride down and you'll see, Von Steuben Panther or Lane Tech or this or that or whatever.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like, and literally I'm driving and staring at Schurz. They're like, nah.
Yeah, exactly. It does create this little bit of a contrast or tension maybe within
I
a
don't
local
know.
community.
I don't know.
But there's a whole
Same
lot of
time, it
pros and
also
cons that we could get into the nitty gritty of on that topic. But
puts you and kind of forces you to put pride in your local community more than just I like my house.
no, for sure.
You know, actually care about everything in your community.
Yeah, no, I
So
feel it. Um, no, I think it also creates, even at the middle school level, a very strange atmosphere of like these kids are earmarked from like sixth grade, like, oh, I'm gonna get out of here and go to Lane, or get out of here and go to Walter Payton, whatever it might be. And
yeah.
that creates this divide from the get-go.
Yeah, and I mean I know we host like 4 or 5 grade school graduations. Like we host matures
Yeah.
of like, 4 or 5 grade school graduations, probably a good 500-600 kids. And our incoming class this year was 213 or something like that, 220.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the other 50% plus going?
So when you moved to Norwich and you were in what, sixth grade or so? Seventh grade, I guess.
I would be entering fifth.
Entering fifth. Okay. So, because your
Because it
brothers
would have been their
were going
freshman
to
year.
high school. Oh, okay. Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
I was
Did that,
actually, no, sorry. I was entering fourth because I spent
yeah.
1 year still at St. Paul while in Norwich, and then had a bad teacher experience, so I transferred to the public school of Norwich, which was Lee.
Okay. Lee. All right. I know that school. Yeah, I was thinking when my brother went off to college, I was going into seventh grade, but right, into high school.
Yeah.
So, and then in high school, what sports did you play?
Um, I did soccer and track for all 4 years, and I did basketball my freshman and senior year.
Okay. Freshman and senior. Just jump back on the team, or?
Well, it was kind of one of those things. After my freshman year, during summer, the sophomore coach was like, you can become a really top athlete if you were to commit to a sport. And I was like, what do you mean commit to a sport? Like, I'm gonna play. Like, what's your point?
Yeah.
Oh, but like, if you spent your time, like, focus your energy and this and that, and I'm like, okay, I guess I will. And like, I was like, I'm gonna do that for soccer because I've been playing soccer since I was 4 years old. Like,
Mhm.
that's gonna happen. At sophomore year, I was already having conversation with college coaches about options and this and that, through my club and through whatever. And it wasn't until like November that the varsity head coach came and found me, and he's like, why are you not playing this year? And I was like, Shaw told me I'd be a better athlete if I concentrated on a sport. And
Yeah.
he's like, he what now? So at that point, I
Man.
was like, I'm gonna play this. And then after my senior season for soccer, I was like, I miss basketball. Like I
Yeah.
miss it. I miss being on it. So, but at that point, I was a little behind. It's not like I started and played often my
Yeah.
senior year. But I was still good enough to make the team. I was a last minute sub-in guy to hit free throws. That was my thing. I was not going to turn over the ball. I was a very good passer, and I could hit free throws. So like last 2 minutes of a close game, yeah, get in there. Go ahead. Go inbound the ball. Go catch the ball. You're quick enough to get open. Go catch the ball. Hit free throws. Like that was my job.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I love the basketball culture because I was a dual athlete. I played tennis, but our school is not huge, and I just played I was a second doubles team with like my best friend who was really tall as well. So we just were like net monsters. But basketball, I mean, when I wasn't playing soccer, I was playing basketball, and like that whole community was really, yeah, left a huge impression. Those are the role models in my life who really stuck with me, I think, as my basketball coaches. Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, kind of a different scene too. I don't know. I miss it.
Yeah. So soccer, basketball, track. was what I did.
What track events did you?
Everything. I literally ran everything from freshman to senior year. I ran every event under 800 meters.
What was your best?
My best was long jump. I was one place away from qualifying for state as a junior, and that was my best finish result. But I was top 2 jumper for my freshman year. And kind of went from there. I was pretty decent at triple jump, but I messed up my knee my sophomore year. I hyperextended on one.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I was like, I don't want to risk it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you have any injury woes? Because I feel like with track, just the slightest thing will derail the forward growth.
That was about the only thing on it is I just hyperextended slightly, and I was like, I'm not risking it.
Yeah.
And then from there, I had a relatively injury-free life until my freshman year of college. Well, the summer going into my freshman year of college.
And where was that at?
At North Central.
Oh. North Central. I don't know where that is. Is that in the city?
Naperville, Illinois.
Oh, okay. Cool. And you were an athlete there? Or?
Yeah. So my freshman year I wasn't. I got hurt. The summer going into there, I was actually at North Central for a summer practice and a scrimmage against a local club team that was getting ready for nationals. And I tore my hamstring. And then kind of worked my way back. And then by the time I got to tryouts, I re-aggravated it. So I talked with the coach, and he's like, we're not even going to redshirt you. We're just going to not put you on the roster. But you'll still work with the PTs. You'll still whatever. You just won't train with us and all that. Yeah. And then we'll bring you back in for spring. So I played spring and fall sophomore year. Then I dislocated my knee for the second time.
Do you feel like that had anything to do with the hamstring?
I think the first time did. The first time did because it was in the leg that I had torn the hamstring on.
Yeah.
So I tore my left hamstring, and then I dislocated my left knee. And when I went to see the doctor about it, he's like, I'm surprised you haven't dislocated it yet, being as that you play you're soccer guy, basketball guy, a lot of hard cutting, a lot of this, a lot of that. He's like, but I guess your body just figured out how to move, and your quads were strong enough to hold your kneecap in place. Well, the fact that I spent 6 months or 6 weeks in an immobilizer, got out of the immobilizer and did what I did, my quad wasn't as strong as it usually is.
Yeah.
Kneecap went out, right? And then by the time my junior year came around, and that's the first time I dislocated my right kneecap after working my way back playing my junior year. And then over the summer, I was playing softball. I dislocated my right kneecap, and I went, And so...
Damn. What's that feel like? Just real discomfort, or?
Yes. It doesn't feel like much. It sounds and looks a lot worse than it is.
Yeah.
Because it sounds terrible because there's 7 or 8 pops on your way down because it's the kneecap going over or through 5 or 6 tendons. I luckily didn't tear anything any of the times that I dislocated it. But then it becomes the age-old, okay, where's my kneecap? Because it would fall out or it would pop out, and then I'd go, where is it? And when playing softball, it was actually, I was going to my right playing second base, planted and went to go throw, went out. I fell over immediately because I had no stability. And I'm sitting there, and it felt like it was on the inside of my leg, and so I'm reaching there because that's where all the tension was. I'm like, where the hell did it go? Did I go back behind my knee again because that's where my left one went? And as I'm sitting there, the pitcher turns over and goes, dude, is that your kneecap? And I'm like, oh, there it is. And I grabbed it and pushed it over. He's like, oh, what are you doing?
Whoa. Wait, so where was it? Behind?
It was on the outside.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Right to the outside of the knee, and I moved it back in, and I was like, "Oh, that feels so much better." And he's like, "What?" And I was like, it, as dumb as it sounds, like it's when your body doesn't have a body part where it should be, doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I've ever seen that. Sure, I could look up videos.
yeah, no, I can't watch those videos. Like even still, like if I'm watching football, I'll see it the first time, and I'll be the person to immediately be like, "Oh, his knee's done," and I'll turn away.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna go to the bathroom now.
No, for sure. That's like real taboo, I feel, in group chats when you just like unload something like that in
Oh yeah.
a video without giving proper warning. I don't know who it was, but I remember it happened
And I said,
a couple of
everybody's like,
years
"Oh, did you
ago.
look at the video?" And I think I responded. I was like, "No, I heard the comment, and I decided I'm not clicking on that. That's not happening."
I kind of think
Oh,
you
it was the
may have
Nick
saved
Chubb.
me in that
It
case.
was the Nick Chubb video, and I watched it. I watched that happen live, like the Nick Chubb where he put his knee backwards
Yeah, yeah. I think
again, and I was like, "Nope." The minute I saw the tackle and I saw the way he went down, I'm like, "Nope, he's done."
yeah. Yeah, people have very different sensitivities when it comes to that sort of stuff. And it can play in your head too as an actual athlete. So
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, and that's what me and Ralph were talking about the other day about like half of joint injuries are just I'm afraid it'll happen again. It's mental.
oh yeah, for
Whether
sure.
or not the odds of it are stupid slim, all mental.
Right. And a lot of it just takes time. I mean, this first handful of times back from an injury, it's always going to be unnerving.
Oh yeah.
Um, so were you a striker in high school
I
or
was a
college?
center mid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was center mid. All throughout high school, we played. And this is gonna sound completely uh, crazy to all of our formation aficionados here. We played a 4-3-3
Where are the
with
triangles?
uh, there really weren't any. That was the thing. So it was a 4-3-3 with a diamond back.
Mm,
We played sweeper stopper, and then we played center mid, left mid, right mid, striker, left wing, right wing,
yeah.
which makes absolutely no sense.
No, I feel like that was almost the default on like my rec teams growing up. It's like you needed a center, you needed just like easy to comprehend positions. Like you're in the front, you're in the side, you're in the middle side.
You're not wrong for rec teams. However, this
Yeah.
was a high school team.
Well, it's also a bit before the age of wisdom has struck the U.S. in terms of like mass understanding of the game.
What I
So,
would also, yeah, what I would also say on it is, I love Rob, great guy, was a great coach, great motivator. Um, but he was a hockey and football player.
right.
He was not a soccer guy. He never played soccer a day in his life. But when he got hired, they needed a soccer coach, and he said, "Yeah." So he started JV, and like a year into it, the varsity coach left, and they're like, "So you want it?" And so that's how he got into soccer, right?
Yeah.
That being said, looking at the formation now and the way we played it, it was almost more of a 3-4-3.
Hmm.
Is what it kind of turned into, right? Because our stopper would sit a little higher and behind me and kind of like that CDM, that Conte type role,
Yeah.
snuff out any counterattack and allow me to recover,
Yeah.
and then allow our outside mids to recover. And then if anybody was in front of me, our wings would kind of pinch in to snuff that out. So in theory, we were playing a 4-3-3 because that's what they called it and that's what they taught it as and that's what we did. But just the intuitiveness, I guess, of our players, we're playing more of like a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-2-1.
Would your back line in high school, would you trap or would it just be a sweepers sweeping up there?
We had a guy who probably should have been an all-state defender back there. Probably one of the best players I've ever played with. Just a fantastic athlete, individual.
Yeah.
And just from a textbook standpoint, like just did things you couldn't teach. Like you teach defenders never lunge, and he would always lunge and never miss. I never saw him miss a tackle. He would slide in as the last man and never not get the ball.
Right.
Went on to play at Dominican, was an All-American all 4 years.
Oh, really?
But had a kid at 19. So
yeah,
didn't advance much past that.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had my middle school 7th, 8th grade team 2 years ago. We had this kid, just like the purest athlete I'd ever seen, come through my school, and he just played that true sweeper role. And I mean, the amount of security he offered me as like a coach, this feeling of just like invincibility with him ranging from side to side, strong foot. It's just like, this is incredible.
Oh yeah, and that's not just that, but I had this past season we had a very good season. But the goalkeeper we had was just different level, different type of player than your standard high school player. Like he had played and had experience in English youth academies, Ukrainian youth academies, like all across the board, and came here because I think he was from like the Kiev area. So he came.
Yeah, you had a handful of Ukrainian players. Was he the only refugees like status, or?
We had like 3 or 4 throughout our program. But 2 or 3 of them were on JV, or 2 was on JV and 1 was like that JV2 area. But I've had a couple of Ukrainian kids just in general.
Mm-hmm.
But not refugees. Like they have family who are over there, but they've been here for a bit of time. Like my striker this past season is Ukrainian. But he's been here for I think his whole life.
Yeah, pretty similar makeup, I think, to my neighborhood, where we do have like not a significant, but a dozen or so Ukrainian students, and then we had another little wave this past year.
Yeah.
Do you have any at Schurz?
Yes, actually. Probably about 5 or 6 in total.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting a lot more of like your South American migrants.
Yeah.
Is like South American, Central American migrants is a lot of what we're getting.
Right. This year specifically?
Yes, a lot of Venezuelan, a lot of Ecuadorian.
Right.
Like that type of like northern South America area is where we're getting a lot of our kids from.
Right. Yeah, we at the primary level, I think we have quite a few new enrollments from that, but at the middle school levels, oddly, maybe like 3 or 4. The ones they're currently in my class, actually, they're just like incredible students too, nice as human beings and really sharp. But yeah, obviously everyone's different. But wild world out there.
It's crazy, and it's even better is like I know enough Spanish. Like I took 5 years of Spanish in high school, took 2 years in college, like worked in the restaurant industry and use it pretty regularly there. But then once I stopped working there and stopped using it, I've forgotten so much. Like if I weren't lazy and I were to like listen to like 3 Rosetta Stone tapes, I'd probably be back to where I was and be borderline fluent, right?
You're showing your age with the Rosetta Stone reference.
Yeah. What is it now? Like Duolingo or something like that? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think Babbel and Duolingo are probably the only real contenders these days. But
yeah, so I mean, if I were to like actually sit down and probably do that, I could probably get pretty much back to pretty well off. But I still know how to like the words I do remember and do know. I speak it very well and very easily and fluidly across the board when I have the thought like pre-thought out in my head.
Yeah.
And so like if I say like a phrase or something to like a student like that, they'll immediately like click into like, oh, he knows Spanish. And like come back and I'm like,
right.
Like, yo hablo un poquito español. Like, and yo no sé. Lo siento. Like,
Yeah, I get that all the time too. But it does endear you to them for sure. Just even the effort, because so many people don't make any effort, and if you just are trying to communicate, I think it shows that you're an ally rather than a
100%.
xenophobe. So
yeah, no, 100%. And not only that, but it makes your life easier, because then these kids are willing to open up to you and talk to you and work with you, more importantly, about like what needs to be done. They're not just sitting there like going to whatever like connection they have in the school, and you're getting an email from a science teacher that's like, how can they help your health class? Like, they'll actually talk to you and work it out that way.
one thing I was going to ask, when you were talking about how that coach teacher recommended you become a one sport athlete, I was approached like repeatedly my sophomore, junior, even senior year about being on the football team, because the football program at my school is pretty top notch for our size, and I never gave it any consideration, just because soccer was my love in terms of on the field. And but is that something, now that you're in a high school, like do people kind of go behind each other's backs to like secure, I don't know, is it a cutthroat culture of like?
No, it's not a behind each other's backs type deal. Primarily because if it's not the same season, they're not really worried about it type deal.
Yeah.
I know at Sure specifically, like, we're trying to get some of our basketball players out to our football team, because some of our best athletes play basketball, and they're like, no, I'm a basketball player. I'm a basketball player.
Yeah.
But knowing more than one sport, like there's cross transfer, like there's transfer skills and things like that. Like,
Yeah.
if you look at it, like playing defense in soccer and basketball, exact same footwork.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Dude, I am such a better defender in both sports because of the other,
Oh, 100%. And that's again, that's why I was like last 3 minutes of a game guy, because like, hey, we need to stop a guy, or we need you to make a pass, or we need you to get whatever. It wasn't like throughout the course of the game where it's like, we need you to score two. But like, you need a situational guy. Like, I was able to do all of it, right?
Yeah. I love it. Basketball for me, I don't know about you, but in actual game situations, I was just so like jittery and wired, where like my shot would never, my distance shot, if you played me in pickup, I would just fucking butter. I was like one of the top scorers, but then in a game, I was just like high strung.
I know. Nerves never really got me, and still really don't to this day for really anything. If anything, nerves get me more now as a coach than they do when I was a player, because as a coach, I have less control.
Yeah.
You don't have any control over what is happening on that field.
Yeah.
But as for like the competitives, and then like at Ridgewood, it's almost more cooperation, because at Ridgewood, like, our football coach there now has come to me a handful of times, like, hey, you got anybody with a strong leg? We need a kicker. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and and he's worked it out and he's told me, he's like, your priority one. There's a soccer game and there's a football game on Friday night. He's going to soccer.
Yeah.
But like, it's almost more. There's more cooperation.
Some corroboration. Yeah. Okay.
That works.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I even again at the middle school, it's just like I wish that kid would come out for the soccer team, because they would be an asset. But I can only imagine it's intensified at the high school level.
Yeah, and well, so the middle schools, and I don't know how CPS middle schools work. I know the middle schools around here, they intentionally don't like overlap sports.
No, there's no sport offered at my school. Maybe if there were the coaches to accommodate, but there's no sport that overlaps at this time. It would be like maybe cross country and soccer, basketball and wrestling, but we don't offer wrestling. We don't offer cross country, and then the big one in the spring is the flag football. So
So what I know that like Giles, and well, when Lee was still in middle school, but Giles right now, which is the middle school, because they rearranged it, and a lot of the like their whole conference does now is like they'll do, you know, boys volleyball for a month and a half, and then they'll start boys basketball for a month and a half, and then they'll start wrestling for a month and a half, and then they'll start this for a month, and like about a month and a half. So like in spring they'll have both section and softball and boys soccer, but they won't overlap.
I think
just split that 3-month in season in half so that the boys can do both.
That's actually where CPS is heading to, I think, if we did have the offers, or if we did have the coaching staffs to accommodate. But because now what they do is those 3-month windows, they break it up between 7th and 8th grade will be the first month and a half, and then 5th, 6th grade will be the second month and a half. So if we were to have cross country or something, it'd probably just be that second half for the 7th, 8th boys or whatever.
Yeah, you just need to find more coaches is what you need.
It's a better system in my opinion, because although you only have like 4 season games, you just have like 4 weeks of games, then you actually play a knockout for your conference or for your location that then routes you into this city. But
yeah, and I know,
does anybody really want to hear about middle school CPS? I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Hitting facts of Chicago public school sports.
All right, let's get back to the sport we're here for and we all love. So what's your fandom in terms of soccer? What were you watching as a kid? What games were you going to?
So as a kid, my first love, and there's still a spot in my heart, but they're utter garbage right now, is Chicago Fire. I've watched them since their inaugural 1998 season where they became champs. They did the double.
So it's the cup and the league.
They won the Open Cup, and they're still one of the most successful like Open Cup teams in its history.
How many do they have?
They've only won the actual MLS Cup in their inaugural season in '98, and that was it.
Okay.
I think they made it again in like 2000, but they lost. Or 2001, and they lost. One of those years. They made it again like 2 or 3 years later, and they lost. So I've watched them. I really don't watch them anymore. And then after kind of learning about the game more, I went into like more European games. Kind of watched a little bit of Bayern Munich because I went to one of my first European games that I saw, so to speak, was a Man United versus Bayern Munich at Soldier Field.
Okay.
I still have that Bayern jersey somewhere with the T-Mobile across it.
So what era is that?
Oh man, early 2000, early mid 2000s. I'd say.
I didn't know they were doing the U.S. tours that long ago.
Still, it was the year after Beckham got sold to Madrid. Was when they were.
You said Man U Bayern?
Man U Bayern. Wow. It's a T-Mobile sponsorship, and it's got a nice collar like all those ones had.
Yeah, I like those. I'm a fan of collars in the sport.
And so growing up, I always thought that I was a lot more German than I was, which I'm not. Slash, very, very little German, and I know for a fact it's not the good part of Germany that you want to be a part of.
I was hoping the second part of this podcast could be in German, but I guess we'll have to.
Yeah, no, Scottish.
Give you more Rosetta Stone.
Very Scottish, very Irish and English.
Okay.
We did a couple years ago. Danielle was interested in it, so I got her. Like they had a 23andMe or no, Ancestry.com, like deal on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So I got them. I got her one, and it was like a buy one get one type deal. So I was like, sure, I'll do it. And it came back that a good majority of it is Scottish, like 60% Scottish.
But if you drink enough Weihenstephaner, then it'll actually change your DNA and you'll become more and more German. So.
But so really intriguing
okay, cool.
teams, and there is a logic behind this. I'm not just rambling on. But became a big Michael Ballack fan for a while.
Michael Ballack.
Yes, and that's what led me to Chelsea.
Right.
Because
he was he 13 on Chelsea as well?
Huh?
He was number 13 on Chelsea.
He was, and that was Chelsea. They had him. They had him and Lampard as a midfield, and that was borderline unbeatable. And I believe that was Drogba's first spell at the club. Was also at the same time.
Yeah, he was Ballack was a classy player.
Very, very much so, and I really admired the long range shooting and the long ball playing midfielders. Those are the ones that I loved.
Yeah, so you're a Stevie G fan too?
The more I learn about him, the more I like him. I mean, outside of coaching, because the whole.
You don't like the Saudi League success that he's seen? Actually, his team
he hasn't seen any success. He's terrible. He's like bottom of the league in Saudi League.
Man, if I could see a little bit of a window into him and Jordan Henderson's conversations in Saudi Arabia.
Just all that's going through my head is just straight shit talking the whole time. Like, just, why are we here? Why are we doing this? Like, what is going on right now?
Oh God. Jeez, Jordan Henderson. If he showed back up on that England roster.
I'm pretty sure Jordan Henderson is in front of Steven Gerrard in line to replace Klopp. Like, pretty sure they're just like, nah, we'll take Henderson. Like, come on. Like, Alonso doesn't want the gig. Come on, Jordan. You could be a player coach. Like, we'll go old school.
So we did Ballack, what is that, 5 seasons maybe at Chelsea or so?
Thereabouts.
Yeah. Sometimes I kind of mix up his spell with I guess Schweinsteiger had a pretty mediocre run at Man U, right? What was Ballack's considered a success? Maybe I felt like maybe it was a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, no, I'd say Ballack was considered a success. I'm pretty sure he won a couple of trophies there. Because he wasn't one of the first signings, but he was one of the bigger signings in Abramovich's early years.
Was Mourinho at the helm? Yeah.
I honestly can't remember if they overlapped off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's weird, sometimes these timelines, it's just like
there's so much crossover, and especially with Chelsea specifically, it turns over so quickly.
Yeah.
So quickly, even for world-class players. Like, really, when you think of Chelsea legends, even after this Abramovich era, there's like 2 guys. Despite the fact that they've had success, they've won, 4 or 5 league titles. They've won 6 or so FA Cups. They've won 2 Champions Leagues. They've all of this
really
stuff.
2. I feel like I could name like 10. Who are you saying? Terry, Lampard, Drogba.
Okay, yeah, 3. Drogba, yeah. But even still, when you look at Drogba, like he's a legend because he won them almost single-handedly, won them that Champions League. When you actually look at what he did at the club, he only spent like 6 seasons there because he spent like 2 in his first spell and 4 in his second spell.
Okay.
So how much of how long do you have to be at a club to be a legend?
Yeah, probably 8 years, I'd say.
Because he was there forever. Milner is not, because Milner he's played forever, but he's played for like 20 different clubs.
Sure.
Right? Despite the fact that Milner had success with Liverpool, won them helped them win their first league title, but he's not a Liverpool legend.
Right. Well, and he spent time at City, right? So that never helps.
Spent time at City, spent time at fucking everywhere, know? But so it's one of those, like, what do you consider a legend? Like,
so what's your
like Makaleli played for Chelsea for however long, but he's not a Chelsea legend. He's a legendary player.
How about Shevchenko? How long is he there? Nah, probably you're right. 4 or 5.
They've had a lot of legendary players but because their turnover rate is so high, they don't have club legends. And that's one of their issues.
So how do you maintain your fandom? Are there Chelsea podcasts, or what's going on? How do you elevate from just a armchair fan to a passionate blue?
I don't think it's anything that I need to watch Chelsea specific. I think it's just keeping up with the game, loving the game, wanting to get into the knowledge of the game. And I think the more you know about the league as a whole and other teams as a whole and other teams' histories as a whole, the more you can then embrace what your club has to offer and learn from that side. I don't think it's like I need to watch Chelsea this or Chelsea that or anything like that. It's more just, and I've always been that person. It's like, if you watch your news from a rose-colored glass perspective, you're gonna always get that kind of view.
Sure.
Right.
So but you do put aside the time to watch their matches each week for the most part, or
when I can, yeah. Like this, I of course wasn't able to watch the city game this week. I watched a recap because I was reffing. I was reffing middle school basketball.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was reffing.
Man, jeez, God bless you, dude. That's
basketball.
Holy cow! I admire that because I know there's mass shortage, especially at the middle school level. So, I went to a couple middle school basketball games in the last month and introduced my son to live basketball, and he was digging it. And in one of the games, the referee addressed the crowd and sort of just made a plea to say, like, listen, there's shortages in this profession because fans are vocal, and I know you're passionate, but please just like trust us that we're doing our best. And it was sort of a bit tragic to have to hear somebody say that.
No, I had a borderline similar situation this week, actually. It was the first time I'd had to do it in a very, very long time, but I actually stopped the game and I was like, just a quick reminder to everybody, we're here to rep the games, you're here to coach the games, you're here to play the games, and you're here to watch the games. Let's all do our part. And that's all I left it at, like you've come here to watch. So watch.
Do you feel things have intensified in terms of like just all around athletics?
I think they did for a while. I think they've gotten much better now.
I mean, you're front and center on a couple different layers. I
think they've gotten much better now. I'd like to say that 2010s, 20 teens, like early 20 teens was when it got its worst. And then there was a big pushback of it's youth athletics. Let's calm down here. Nobody here is winning a World Cup. Nobody here is even competing for money. Let's calm down. But I think by that point the damage was already done.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people who either A, were already involved and young enough to kind of continue reffing said, I don't need this. And those youth level people who may have gotten involved in reffing were kind of looking at it going, I don't want to deal with that.
Completely scared to be in the line of fire from adults when you're in your teens or pre-teens.
Which is why now if you look at any officials, and I'm sure you do the same, or you talk with Kenny about it or anything like that, your official's either 65 or 25. There's nobody at our age group reffing. Right? Because that was when, if we would have gotten into it, we were the line of fire at 18, 19-year-olds, 20, 22-year-olds.
Uh-oh. Frozen. I've never been in this situation where one-on-one with somebody and they're frozen. Hopefully there's a rebound here. This is where I insert my monologue about my father being a referee and, never really giving him the credit of what he did in his free time outside of his full-time position. Did high school girls sports, did mostly girls soccer, but he did a little bit of basketball while his knees could keep up. And he definitely, got criticized heavily from the sidelines, made me very uncomfortable as a son and almost embarrassed. But, I should have been really beaming with pride knowing that my dad was putting himself out there and doing this for the love of the game. And not easy. Not easy. I know he has friends who went on to coach, or they do coach like junior college or referee junior college sports and stuff like that. I think he maybe got a little bit involved at the junior college level, but yeah, I mean, now with the shortage, I think about. All right, you back?
Yeah. So my computer didn't even decide to tell me that it was gonna die. It just died. So
Dude, I'm
back on my end. It looks like I'm staring at myself here.
I see a frozen you, which
if you can boot the frozen me, it's I don't know what's going on, but
let me see. Yeah, let's see if I can.
I don't know if that's gonna mess with the recording or anything.
Yeah, I'd rather not split it up into two because then that's two different processing times. But if we are,
but I'm at a minute long in this conversation. So how have you been today, Rich? How you?
Can you turn off your video and turn it back on? Wonder if that'll do it.
No, splits me into.
Oh man.
Ooh. Huh. People could just get mean mugged for the rest of the time because is it the same picture for you as it is for me, where I'm just like death staring the camera?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, I'm gonna remove you from the call so that the recording continues. Can you jump back on the call if this removes you?
Yeah.
Okay.